Okay, people, so we have spoilers for the upcoming chapter of Dragon Ball Super, the return of the Dragon Ball Super manga with chapter 88, if I'm not mistaken. And off rip, we have this really sick color page that you're seeing right now of Goten and Trunks. And I want to say this is the first manga appearance since the end of the original Dragon Ball manga of them in that sort of era, that character design. Aside from like the finale of Dragon Ball Z, you really haven't seen those designs, because then in GT they kind of change up again. Goten's design becomes a complete piece of trash, and Trunks just ages up a little bit more, kind of towards the future Trunks look that we see of future Trunks. But then let's examine a little bit. So we have on the left side a bunch of zombies and purple. It kind of looks Halloweenish. It would have been dope for this to launch on Halloween. Maybe they were planning on it and things just went in a complete disarray, because didn't the manga go on hiatus, what, a couple of months back now? Like, this would have been perfect for Halloween. But then on the corner there, that Dr. Hedo, if I'm not mistaken, that was the one that was broken out of prison. He's the grandson of Dr. Gero, and I'm wondering how this is going to go, because if I'm not mistaken, they didn't meet until the movie, and this is a prequel to the film. So how are they going to interact in that regard? I mean, I don't remember Goten and Trunks mentioning like, hey, it's you again. So how's that gonna work? Will it be that Goten and Trunks aren't crafty enough to figure things out? You know, there's a lot to be investigated there. And then on the other side of things, is interesting. It's kind of like normalcy life. It's kind of like that life that you saw where Gohan, after the Cell games, is in Orange Star High School. Like, this is called seemingly Blue Hall High School, and what appears to be Mai from, you know, Shu, Mai, and Pilaf. It looks like Mai in high school, and then a bunch of other classmates. Shout outs to the representation that they have there. I like to see it. And then you got Krillin in his cop uniform. Krillin as a cop, okay, whatevs. And yeah, already exciting stuff. Like, we just talked a bunch, and it was just off this color page alone. But now we have a summary, and again, this is lengthy, so we're gonna try and run straight through it. This is summary part 1 for chapter 88, the birth of the superheroes. The chapter starts with Goku and Vegeta back on Beerus' planet. Goku, Whis, Beerus, and Oracle Fish eat yakisoba noodles, while Vegeta looks upon the sky, looking at his new goal of defeating Black Frieza one day. Meanwhile on Earth, two mysterious masked men appear on the streets, calling themselves the Cleanup Heroes, Saiyaman X1 and Saiyaman X2, to stop a jewelry store robbery. The robbers and civilians in there are surprised to see the heroes overturn thieves' car. They begin to deliver their heroic lines in front of the people. One of the thugs points a gun at the heroes, but X1 destroys the gun and puts it in a bag and gives it back to the thief. Then the thieves charge them with knives, but X1 and X2 dodge them with ease. They finish it with a double kick, and the thieves are down on the ground. Cleanup complete, say the two. The heroes unmask themselves after going to the rooftop of a nearby building, and it's none other than Goten and Trunks, who have now grown up, because again, in the manga, because I know you're probably a little lost, maybe you saw the superhero film, you're like, wait a minute, what do you mean growing up? Yeah, like, they were still kids during the granola stuff. They talk about their dialogues and poses being similar to a game hero, Clean God, but Goten tells Trunks not to worry much since they're a duo while the Clean God works alone. Just then, Goten receives a news alert. Trunks gets excited hearing the word robbery, but it's actually a robbery of personal information due to a cyber attack. This makes Trunks lose all his excitement, as there's no way they can fight cyber criminals. Goten notes that Trunks isn't so good with computers. Just then, Goten receives a call from Chi-Chi, who angrily shouts at him for being late to home after school. Both Goten and Trunks haven't told their families about their hero activities, so Goten changes to his regular costume. Trunks wants to have a wristwatch to switch costumes like Gohan did, since he can't ask Bulma, but he decides to ask Pilaf to make them instead. Why the hell would you ask Pilaf? That was very stupid. So he's still a little naive there. I mean, technically they're grown up, but they're not complete adults. Goten leaves with Flying Nimbus and leaves his superhero outfit with Trunks. Trunks lands on the other side of the street and wonders if he should change his outfit there or go home with the superhero outfit, since he can't risk any civilians knowing about his secret hero identity. Then we got part 2. Trunks gets surprised to spot his grandparents at a nearby flower shop. He quickly puts on his helmet to not let them know about him. So far this feels very slice of life-ish, I'm not gonna lie. Dr. Brief spots him and says, "Oh, aren't you the something man who appeared on the scene earlier?" Trunks introduces himself as the hero Saiyaman X1. Dr. Brief's pet dinosaur recognizes Trunks and goes running toward him. Dr. Brief notes that their pet Dino doesn't usually bond with anyone other than family so fast, to which Trunks replies that superheroes are loved by all. He orders Dino to sit, and he flies away. Dr. Brief notes that the number of youngsters flying in the sky has increased in the recent days. Dr. Brief's wife, Panchi, comes near him after buying flowers. Upon hearing that Dr. Brief was talking to a superhero, she wishes to talk to a hero one day too. Dr. Brief tells her that the superhero's voice sounded very familiar to him. Panchi asks Dr. Brief to choose one of the flowers as she plans to gift them to Pan on joining kindergarten recently. Dr. Brief thinks to gift Pan with a fancy airplane since the last time he saw her, she was upset as she couldn't fly like Piccolo and others. I wonder, can she fly yet? No, because this is before the movie. Suddenly, Dino notices something. It's the Capsule Corp's helper robots running away from a zombie. Next day at Capsule Corporation, Trunks goes to Pilaf to ask him about the wristwatches. Pilaf tells him that Trunks is ready and hands over to him. Goten's will be done in a day's time. In return of keeping the secret, Pilaf asks Trunks to keep the stealing of Dragon Balls a secret from Bulma. Trunks agrees and reminds him about his part of the deal, to which Pilaf says that he hasn't even told Shu and Mai about their hero activities. That would be hilarious. Suddenly, Bulma interrupts them from behind and asks what they're talking about so secretly. Trunks gets surprised but manages to avoid the question. Bulma asks him if it isn't his school time. Trunks runs for his school but sees Mai and Shu pick up a heavy box and stops to help her. Shu asks Trunks to help him lift his boxes too, but Trunks ignores him and leaves after blushing and say Mai goodbye. Bulma notices this. Bulma confronts Pilaf by telling him that she saw him sneak into his room and steal the Dragon Balls from there in the surveillance camera. Since he's obviously gonna wish for something silly, Bulma wants him to hand them over to her to keep them in safe hands. Trunks leaves for school riding it. Oh, so she don't realize that he's a piece of crap. She just thinks he's like a kid being a little dirtbag. Similar to what Gohan wrote in We Got a Power Song, just not a Capsule Corp model. That's crazy. Trunks arrives at school, the Blue Hall High School. He sneaks into his class from the window, but the teacher spots him and punishes him for being late. Ha! Trunks' friend Compass asks him about the reason why he's late, to which Trunks replies that he's been busy with some after-school work. Compass assumes it's related to Capsule Corp since Trunks is going to become the next president. But Trunks makes it clear to him that he doesn't wish to be on that position. He wants more excitement in his life. That job is too boring, he thinks. That's very in line with the plot of GT Trunks, that he does eventually become the president and he is bummed out and feels like it's boring. So they're still trying to connect GT, fam. That's Trunks' friend Lula invites him to Butterfly Mountain for a test of courage game since the school hockey players reported ghost sightings. Trunks backs out saying it's too boring, but in reality he's too afraid of ghosts. That's funny as hell. After school, Trunks invites Goten to come over and play Clean God game. I'm gonna just keep it real. All of this sounds like straight up filler. I'm gonna just straight say it. I ain't gonna lie, it sounds like Slice of Life. It's set up and build up, but majority of this is just like, okay, alright, you know, we could have started off with something crazy happening, but then again, we do usually do that, so maybe I take it back. Maybe it just feels like a lot of Slice of Life setup. There we go. The filler was terrible. I apologize for that one. After school, Trunks invites Goten to come over and play Clean God game. Trunks wants to be more active in his real life hero time, not in the game playing as a hero. Seeing Trunks' watch, Goten can't wait for his too. Trunks tells him that he used the watch once during recess to go buy 2 movie tickets to Clean God's first day showing. Goten thinks the ticket is for him, but Trunks tells him that he wants Mai to go out with her. Oh shit, he bought them for Mai. So Mai is attending this school. Yo, that's crazy. They really love that ship. That ship must be massively popular. They still pushing it even in this timeline now. Trunks goes to the lab to ask out Mai for a movie that Saturday, but she rejects the invite as everyone in the lab is busy fixing the helper robots. Trunks asks the reason why so many robots suddenly need fixing, so Shu tells him that these robots became disobedient and ran away from their owners' houses. Pilaf believes that this is no malfunction, must be someone's doing. Shu tells that according to some rumors, there's a group of people who appear at night and modify the robots, causing them to malfunction. Trunks thinks to catch these guys to free Mai for next Saturday. It's probably Pilaf doing some dumb shit. I wouldn't be surprised. It's Pilaf. And then summary part 4. Trunks gets Goten and goes out to the streets at night. The boys don't see anything suspicious in the area. Goten mentions that there have been reports of ghost sightings in that area too. Trunks shivers in fear while Goten is calm. Trunks says that as the son of a scientist, he can't believe ghosts are real, but Goten reminds him that both Goku and Vegeta both died once and came as ghosts to the real world. It's hilarious. It's like, a slice of life real world story talking about events in Dragon Ball, but it's actually Dragon Ball because it's Goten and Trunks. It's bizarre. Trunks bumps into a seriously injured face man, gets scared and hides in the alley. Goten notices the seriously injured face man do something with a remote to an old man's robot. Trunks thinks he's wearing such a mask to scare people. A car passes by the boys with bright lights blinding them. They suspect the culprit is inside the car, so they follow it. It leads them to the rumored Butterfly Mountain, where ghosts are sighted the most. Trunks is scared, he wants to go home, but Goten wants to continue. Goten reminds him that solving this case would let Mai go on a movie date with him. Trunks overcomes his fear and is now ready to solve the case. Trunks and Goten find out that their helper robots were reprogrammed to work at their factory. A heavily injured man in bandages notices intruders, but is actually Trunks' friend. The man in bandages grabs Compass by the neck. Trunks asks Goten to wait outside as he transforms into Saiyaman X1 and goes in to save them. He arrives at the nick of time and saves Compass. The zombie gang opens up on Trunks. Okay, so the zombie gang was from the cover of the manga. Or the cover of the chapter, but he easily sends them flying. Trunks hits their leader with an upcycle punch, but he blocks it. He says his body has been modified to withstand a certain amount of impact. As Trunks is about to try out another one of his finishing moves, the watch times out. He loses his costume and his identity is revealed to his friends. Goten destroys the lights and takes away the schoolmates to safety, leaving Trunks behind. Goten tells him that it was those ghosts doing. They made them hallucinated to see Trunks as Saiyaman X1. Back in the factory, that's so bullshit. Back in the factory, Trunks defeats the leader by going into Super Saiyan. Trunks finds a safe. In it was a disc titled Dr. Gero. He takes it to home to check it later, so that's probably going to be related to Dr. Hedo. Super Cop Krillin arrives at the spot. He was there as he got a report from a nearby resident seeing moving corpses in the area. Trunks gets shocked in fear hearing moving corpses. Krillin further informs them that recently many bodies were stolen from the mortuary. People who saw those dead bodies moving here reported to the station. Sometime later, Dr. Hedo returns to the factory at Butterfly Mountain. He notices all his Alpha soldiers knocked down on the ground. Alpha 12, and by the way, like I said, Dr. Hedo leader gives him Trunks' school badge and says that a kid from the school did this. Dr. Hedo is pissed to see that Dr. Gero disc is missing from his safe. The sushi business was starting to catch pace now, but thanks to Trunks, Dr. Hedo has to find a new business to carry out his expenses. Hey, that's gonna lead into the superhero film. Next day, Trunks comes to the lab to go out to the movies with Mai, but Pilaf tells him that a lot of severely broken helper robots were collected from Butterfly Mountain, so they need to fix it or they can't get to sleep. Trunks realizes it was him who did that to those robots. End note, what's on the disc that Trunks found? Next time, Hedo's operation begins. And if I'm just keeping it all the way thorough with you guys, this chapter sounds different. It sounds like not the Dragon Ball Super that we've gotten thus far by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it's trying to take it back to the basics. It almost feels like it's going in the direction with seeing them at school and even some of the panels that I saw in these spoilers again. It looks like it's going in the route of like Gohan when he was first shown after the time skip after he fought Cell, and you see him in his slice of life stuff. And unfortunately at the time, Shonen Jump, you know, you still at the end of the day can't let the series completely fall, so he had to quickly jump into the Majin Buu tournament, Goku's back, all of that stuff. We're probably getting some type of replica of that right now. Again, Dragon Ball Super and Boruto as well both use their previous series, their previous franchise or whatnot as blueprints for what they're doing. We're probably seeing the setup that will lead inevitably to what's going to be the big enchilada and what they battle. Also, this is going to probably be the precursor to Hedo being broke and desperate and how he ends up in prison to later be released in the Dragon Ball Super superhero film. So while it's not necessarily Dragon Ball Super, it feels different. I'm not against it. I don't know. I thought it was okay for a return chapter. It didn't blow me away by any means. I thought they were selling the shock factor of, holy shit, Goten and Trunks are older now. Holy shit, Maya's in high school with Trunks now. Oh, you know, like it felt like they were holding on to that very tightly. But considering they focused in on only these characters, I'm okay with it so far. I like that they had a lot of representation too. I thought that that was very dope and something different for Dragon Ball that they rarely ever had. But in general, yeah, it's alright based off these spoilers. Probably reading the chapter will be a lot more fun because it's one of those chapters of like, yeah, the dialogue is cool, understanding what's going to happen is cool, but getting the art alongside it so you can really grasp the content will be a better experience. But for a return, I guess the biggest thing is it's dope to see Goten and Trunks older finally, right? Finally, in the manga. That's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Subscribe and hit that bell to get more. Yeah.